And then, number 16, consider approval of ordinance 1337-2022, amending section 12.5.12, special stop intersections of the Railroad Code of Ordinances, incorporating 12.05.012, other stopping intersections, meandering road, establishing a four-way stop intersection at the intersection of Yale and Meandering Road.
We sent you a clean version. I don't know if it's already got a chance to read it, but Council of Governments and all of them are recommending that after we all met down there on the intersection and kind of seen what we were going through, that we should have a four-way stop down there at least until we get the roundabout and all that installed, protect the children and whatnot. Otherwise, they wanted to look at a system that they punch the button and I think it was $5,000 to $10,000 somewhere in there. This is just simple stop signs and painting crosswalks.
But they're gonna have to have that system when they put in a roundabout.
They didn't put it in, but they talked about possibly.
Well, that was the deal when we talked about this. The safety of the kids crossing, they were gonna have to have a flag.
But they're paying that, no.
Yeah.
So that part of the plan has been changed.
That they're not gonna put up the neon light yield signs?
That's still being debated, I guess, but right now the proposal they have is kind of different than everything we saw. There's other things to slow the traffic down and all that. But we talked about actually putting up flashing lights that go both ways, which is, I think, what they would do if they deem it necessary. But then we also discussed the LEDs in the streets, which I like better just because of the maintenance after we own it, I think, as opposed to when we talked about a red light up there, we were concerned about maintenance on a stop sign, so now we're going to have flashing lights to maintain. But
And the button system to activate them.
right.
Yeah. So.
I was talking about for us to pay for it now.
Yeah, right now we are, so this is, so they got down there and looked at the intersection we've been talking about all this time, and they finally saw what I was talking about. There was two pretty close pedestrians getting hit with the condition that it is there now.
So that's why they put up the little yellow deals.
That's exactly it.
Yes,
So it was kind of one of those things, we need to do something now, not later.
So if we do this, obviously it's a huge change, it's been that way for 50 years and, whatever. But how would you, the first day the stop signs go up, what do you do?
I would probably have an officer down there, probably have people out of the vehicles visible. We were down there twice, myself and Deputy Chief Stewart, to monitor. What happens is there's a group of kids now that live in that area, small little kids, whereas before when that was a school crossing guard, the prior chief, I think Avon, removed this crossing guard or the cross school zone because there weren't any kids that lived in that area, but now there's a whole new batch of children that are there, and there's a few tiny ones, and
Three groups that have elementary.
We would saturate that, we would use it as a warning. Compliance is my goal. I'm not, ticket-oriented, but we would just saturate that area. We would educate people concerning the new traffic control devices. We would give them an adequate period of time, a week or 2 weeks, to acclimate themselves to that location, and then we'd hammer people for running the stop sign.
Yeah. No, my concern is
dangerous.
A kid is walking thinking they're going to stop, and the people don't stop because they don't know they're supposed to.
That's the problem we have right now.
Right, we saw little tiny kid comes up, 2 or 3 little tiny kids, one little tiny kid steps to go, car slows, car coming up behind can't see little tiny kid.
Oh my gosh.
And they think because the car is slowing that now it's time for them to walk.
Well, worse than that, we have people that, without a stop sign there now, we have people that stop trying to help the kids get around the crosswalk. And you see them stop and motion them to go, and then somebody behind them comes and honks, "Why are you stopping? There's no stop sign around them." And I've witnessed that too many times, but we watched it that day with Dan Kessler to witness that. He's like, "Oh,
This four-way stop is
now."
brought on by the Council of Governments.
Okay.
We had thought maybe, crosswalk, flashing lights, but when they went down there and looked at it, this is the simplest, least expensive fix that they could come up with. We looked at the flashing signs, and they were extremely expensive, and they sell them in pieces, so you get a $5,000 piece that needs a $2,000 piece that needs a $5,000. And then four-way stop is the most equitable, affordable, temporary, you know, they're gonna redo that whole intersection anyway, so that was what they deemed to be the least.
And there's gonna be people mad, because I'm telling you, they, like I've been saying all along, they come on there in groups of 10, and I don't know why they come in groups, but they do, right? I mean, they like there's a red light somewhere further down, there'll be groups of them, and then a space, and then, so you're gonna have, if it's a group of 10, you're gonna have 10 at the stop sign at one time, and they're not gonna like that.
I'm sorry, what intersection
Do
again?
you know where my office is at Roofing Solutions on Meandering and
I
Yale?
do.
Right there.
That intersection, yeah.
So it's an issue only when the kids get out of school, the traffic there.
I don't even go that way.
Half the time you can go by there and it's the calmest little quiet intersection in the world, but there's other times it's very scary.
In the morning, whenever y'all first do that, I surely recommend you put some pylons down, 'cause that rising sun will block, they won't even see that stop. I seen your officer nearly get run over, 'cause he stayed at stop, and he's in the sun, they can't see him.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder if we can get any, like, temporary signs to put up, further down saying stop ahead, that would not be a permanent purchase, but more like what we did with the crosswalk now, where we, I mean, it's just an idea, and then it can
We'll
maybe
figure
be
it out.
something that's
We're
there
gonna
for
make
a couple of weeks, and then
We'll
in
figure it.
inventory for the next time we need to do it somewhere else in the city, maybe. And are we, so here we didn't mention it, but it was mentioned there about the, making the school zone again, are we, and I don't care, but what do we do with that?
We can look at that if y'all want to, but
What happens is,
Yes, we see what
I think this crop of children, that, like I said, there's 3 or 4 houses, I was looking at the little group that was passing, they're only, 2 or 3 of those are only gonna be crossing here for another couple of years, and then they're gonna move on, and so, yeah, and we'll look at it, people will be, well, there's no kids that cross here, and then there'll be another little nest of kids that come along, I mean, it's a...
And what's there now is weird, that I don't know why, 'cause they're young kids, but some of them are going somewhere else, 'cause they're not coming at the same time. I mean, that'd be a little easier for somebody to just step out there and help a little bit, but there's an hour and a half between
Some of them might
the first little group
they
and
might
the
have
last little
sports
group.
or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that they got piano lessons or something.
Yeah, they have to cross at, Baylor and Railroad Boulevard, they come walking by in front of my house, and then there's no crossing guard there.
Taylor,
And I think the bus stop right there, Baylor and Yale, I think there's a bus
So,
stop
I don't
on
know,
some
they
of
come
them.
walking by, and they cross up there at Roberts Cutoff by themselves.
right. We can't hire crossing guards either. I'm 3 officers down, and we're having a
Yeah.
couple of crossing guards down as well.
That's the school's problem.
Yeah,
To me, it is.
I would.
I know y'all are-
So why isn't that? They have their own police force and they have a much larger budget, according to my tax bill.
I'm not in a position to speak on it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, some of the things that I've experienced here have been, 'cause that's the way we always.
But from what back in the day, supposedly cities normally cover that, and they were doing us a favor by going in half and half.
I'll tell you, I'm born and raised in West Fort Worth. City of Fort Worth's never had a crossing guard at any school I've ever worked at. It's always been.
There's a company that works, I went out and looked to see what a company, and they wanted to charge us $40,000 to cover the crossing guards that we have now, which is more than, I mean, it's, the way the law reads, if our city technically doesn't have to do it, Gary Jones had vehemently informed me that because in the law it said that we had to do it, and I went and looked it up, and it doesn't seem to read the way he seemed to think that it read.
Interpretation.
And so, I don't know how it ended up that way. It's before my
We
time.
need to revisit that then.
Okay, so I don't even know that we have a choice here, do I?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 1337, 2022.
Second.
They do put,
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one.
put the crosswalks in there as well, paint the crosswalk.
That's part of what's going on here, that there's certain things that they require, so we were already gonna paint the crosswalks, we're painting 2 crosswalks and putting in, special lines where you have to